Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Kottabos Space Program, where today we are having a look at near-future spacecraft, which is of course the final part of our little mini-series for near-future technologies, which is being made by forum user Ltp. And what this particular part of near-future technologies is meant to bring you is, well, the Kerbal element. So far we've looked at electrical engines, generators, solar panels, structural pieces, and now finally we get to some command pods and orbital maneuvering engines and things along that variety, and it is pretty awesome. So let's jump right on into the VAB and have a look at what all we do have on hand. Now we are going to grab a Mark 1-2 command pod as per usual for size comparison's sake, and we'll just start here on the Command Pod tab, as we do have three lovely new command pods for us to go for. And so let's take a look at the Mark 3-9 orbital command pod, which has a crew capacity of 2. It can actually be unmanned, so it doesn't need a minimum Kerbal count, which is actually pretty cool. So if you need to do a rescue mission, you can send this thing up on autopilot and then bring home 2 Kerbals. Very cool. It of course does have the built-in data transmitter, reaction wheel, SAS, typical crew report, 270 electric charge, and finally 50 monopropellant. And it's, roughly on par with size of the Mark 1-2, but as you can see, ever so slightly larger. Not by much, but, pretty comparable overall. Now the next command pod we have here is the PPD-1 Heavy Command Module. Yeah, I love this thing, which needs a minimum of 1 crew to operate. Maximum capacity of 6 on this thing. Again, typical transmitter, reaction wheel, crew report. This time though, electric charge of 400 and monopropellant of 120. And let's just pop this one down here. As you can see, well, it's a bit larger in size, being for the 3.75 meter variety, and then of course with the top bit going to 2.5 meter. And it's actually very interesting on the internals for this, because all of these command pods do have custom IVAs. In this one, all the Kerbals, because it is kind of stout, all the Kerbals have to lay down to fit in there, and I don't know why, I like the design of that. And then the final command pod we have here is the Mark 4-1 Heavy Command Module. This one again requires 1 crew member to operate and can hold a maximum of 7, and of course has a data transmitter, reaction wheel, crew report, 600 electric charge on this one, and 140 monopropellant. Now this one I'll pop up to here because, well, it does go up to the 1.25 size at the top, but is the standard sort of 2.5 down at the bottom. And it's just a very interesting design for a command pod. I like the sort of flared out look to it. We do have this seat right here, which on the internal view, when you see that in a little bit, it's actually, I guess, meant to be for the docking pilot, as it's got a nice big window for you to see things, and, well, one of the computers does say docking camera. So, that's my assumption as to why it looks like that, but overall, these things are simply gorgeous. They are some beautiful looking command pods that I'd be happy to put onto any of my ships. Now let's move on to the next category now, and that is fuel tanks, where we're going to go through pretty quickly here because there are 9 fuel tanks and they're just really of different size varieties. Every one of them holds monopropellant in differing forms because, well, the engines we're about to look at after that all run on monopropellant, which is quite cool. So we're going to go through these pretty quickly. I'm not even going to go through the amount because you guys can check that out. Again, it's just different size varieties and forms of these. So we have, first off, the FLR A750 monopropellant tank, which then comes in a medium size, as you can see here, and then a small size here. The next is the FLR B3000, which is a bit bigger, but again comes in a large, medium, and then small size variety, as you can see there. And then finally we have the FLR C6000, which is even bigger, and again comes in a large, medium, and, oh boy, small variety. And all of them very cool looking, very beautiful on the texturing. I do like the internal bit with all of the individual sort of rounded tanks in there. Very, very cool indeed. And again, all holding differing amounts of monopropellant. And, well, that's quite convenient for the engines. Now, the first one we have here is the LV-601 Orbital Maneuvering Engine. And if we just pop that on there and actually get a little bit of a zoom in, not exactly the most impressive looking of engines at first, but remember, like with a lot of things here in near future technologies, well, we have different subtypes, so you can change the style of this from standard to a more compact design to even a shrouded design. And I don't know why, but I like the shrouded design most of all. It just looks, I don't know, beefier, which is kind of cool. And there we go. So that is, well, I'll keep it on there momentarily while we go over the stats for this one, as it is important because, well, it's actually a pretty darn powerful engine. It uses monopropellant at a rate of 10.345 per second, but will produce a maximum of 140 kilonewtons in vacuum, which is pretty impressive for a monopropellant engine, which is why they're more for orbital maneuvering, as you can see here, and it works quite well. So let's pop that one off and go to its big brother, the LV-601-4, which, well, has 4 of them all combined together. Now, this one will do a maximum of 560 kilonewtons in vacuum, using 41.141 monopropellant per second. Gimbling on this one, and I forgot to mention gimbling on its little brother as well. And of course, again, we have subtypes. So we have here the standard, and then if we go to the compact, and then finally the shrouded, which I find the different ones quite interesting, because for the shrouded and the standard, they're more for the 3 meter size, but if we go to the compact, it very nicely fits in the 2.5 meter. So very cool that you can fit this same engine between 2 different sizes of ship. But we're not done there. We also have the option to add fuel tanks onto it, and if we do so, we'll have these little bulbous tanks with a total of 240 monopropellant, and that's cool. I like that idea of having the engine not just have subtypes, but to also have some own fuel for it, which is sweet. So let's move on to the next engine, the LV-95, which I'm not entirely sure if this should be the name, because when I was looking at the changelog for this, on the changelog it says LV-85, so this may be a typo and it may change down the road, but we have the LV-95, which is the little brother, as well as the then LV-95-6, which is the big brother. We'll just look at the smaller one first. Now, it's a tiny little engine there, only producing 14 kilonewtons of thrust in vacuum max, using 1.065 monopropellant per second. It does have a gimbling rate, and oh boy, if we zoom in a bit closer on this one, it does have subtypes between the standard and compact. So basically you just lose that metal sort of support structure around the outside, and that is it. Now, if we zoom back out again and grab its big brother, the LV-95-6, well, it's just, again, a whole lot of those engines put around a, nice big 2.5 meter piece. And this one, we have no subtypes for style, but we do have the subtype to add in a fuel tank, which will add in 180 monopropellant on there. And frankly, I don't know why you'd go without it. It just looks so much better and more filled in. Now, as for the engine, this one will produce 110 kilonewtons of thrust in vacuum, using 8.297 monopropellant per second, and again does have independent gimbling for control. Always useful indeed. And let's pop that baby off and head down to the next category, command and control, where we have, oh boy, a sizable amount of new RCS tanks to play around with. Now, of course, we have our bog standard ones over here of the RV-105, the Place Anywhere 7, and down here with the Werner engine. But now we've got, well, the RV-105 X5 RCS thruster, which we can pop on there. Quite a nice look to it, a little bit bulbous, but overall very useful, and of course has 5-directional spray. We have the RX-1 linear RCS thruster, which is, well, a linear RCS thruster. It has one direction that it shoots out at. We then have a bi-directional, which has 2 directions it shoots out at, a tri-directional, Oh boy, then a bi-directional RCS thruster that really has 4 nozzles, so I mean, well, it's still going in 2 directions, but with 4 nozzles, there we go. The RX-45 Advanced RCS block, there we go, going off in 4 directions, and then the RX-55 Advanced going off into 5 different ones. So a lovely little selection of RCS thrusters for you to enjoy, and hopefully, you know, maintain control of your ships with. Always good. Oh, I'm tempted to leave them all on, but let's pop these babies off because there are some other radially attached things we'll be looking at momentarily. So, there we are. Now, there is nothing in structural, so we can skip over that. Coupling, same deal. Now we're into payload, where we have 2 fun objects in here. The FLT 6000 service tank, which, as you can see, does hold 360 liquid fuel, 80 monopropellant, and 400 oxidizer, and if we open it up there, makes it so you have a nice little place to stick scientific instrumentation, additional batteries, whatever floats your boat on either side. It's quite fun. And you know me, I'm a sucker for animations, and I just love the door opening and closing there. It's very cool. Now we also do have the FLT 9000 service tank, which holds 360 liquid fuel, 240 monopropellant, and 440 oxidizer. And if we pop that there and open it up, well, it's just a bit, well, more room for you to put things, and everything's centralized in the middle of the tank there. Very, very cool. And again, I just love the animation of that thing opening and closing. Very fun and a very useful service tank. Now that's it for there. If we go to aerodynamic, we do have 2 things in here, which is awkward because they aren't actually aerodynamic parts. They are radial engine pods. So they may look aerodynamic, but they have, of course, no aerodynamic properties to them whatsoever in the game, and it comes in 2 different size varieties, which of course has different attachment nodes there on the inside. We've got the SD01 radial engine pod with just the single attachment point, and then the SD02 radial attachment pod with 2 attachment points. And so you can go and use that and, you know, have some good radial engines, which is always handy to have. Now let's pop those off and go down to ground, where we do have the Ltp Od Landing Assembly, which is a very cool landing leg, which looks aerodynamic so that it, well, you know, looks like it's not going to cause you much drag, and a nice leg protected inside of its own shroud system there, as you can see, so we can extend it or deploy it right there, and it's just nicely encapsulated, which is a very cool little feature. I do enjoy that. It does look a lot more safe and secure than, say, your standard landing leg, which looks like it might be sheared off by a stiff wind. This one at least looks like it's protected, though in reality, they're both roughly the same in the protection category. Now we have nothing else until we get down here to utility, where we have the last part, the PPD-24 Itinerant Service Container, which is a lovely little habitat, very similar to the Hitchhiker storage container, but rather than holding 4 crew, like the Hitchhiker, this one can only hold 2, but it does hold a lot of electric charge at 600, and also has a generator that's always active, producing 0.5 electric charge per second, which is quite cool. And if we go over here, we actually even have the radioactive symbol there, so that's probably where that generator is mounted on the inside. So just a lovely little container for your Kerbals, and you know, great for having some extra electric charge. But that is it for the parts, so let's actually head out first to the runway, or not the runway, the launch pad rather, where I have just an Untitled craft waiting, chock full of Kerbals, to take a look at all the interiors for this, and we have the 3 command pods, as well as the itinerant service container down at the bottom, and we'll start with, oh, did I forget to fill it full of people? I forgot to fill it full of people. Oh, just my luck, I can't revert. Oh, I can. Oh, only to launch. Only revert to launch. Okay, well, let's just put that in here again real quick. Just my luck that I borked that, but, you know, we're running okay on time. It shouldn't be too hard for us to jump right back in here. It should be. Yes, auto saved. crew, and fill. There we are. I had it filled with crew originally, but I only had 4 lander legs on it, and it tipped over while I was prepping the episode, so I had to put 2 more landing legs on it so it wouldn't tip over with the kind of awkward weight on the top. So, yeah, forgot to put all the crew in. So let us first look at Genberta Kerman here, who is up in the top command pod, which is just the small little 2-person one. Very nice. And here, got a lot of good switches, good view outside. Only awkward glitch is the hole in the window there. That hopefully should be fixed in a future update, because, well, right now, that's not a very secure spacecraft now, is it? With a giant hole. Alright, but over to his co-pilot here, and of course the same hole on that side there. Just a minor thing, but oh god, we're tilting. We're tilting. We're going to tilt over. Okay, 6 legs, not enough. 6 legs are not enough. You know what? We can still, we didn't explode, so we can still go through all the containers. All right, so into the next command pod. Now, this is the flat one I talked about, where everyone is laying down, and we have 6 crew members in total, which this one's currently staring at the launch pad. Lovely. Okay. Yeah, it needs more than 6 landing legs. All right, so let's just go through the 6 of these real quick as well. There's not a huge amount of difference between each of their views. Some have windows, some don't, some have things in front of them they can do, again some don't, and you just kind of filter through all of them here, and there we go. Lovely view of all of our lying Kerbals. And now we're on to the last of the command pods here, that nice big one holding 7 people. And we have up here the 2 main pilots. So we got our pilot here, our co-pilot over here, and then downstairs we've got just various crew members and that docking seat that I mentioned earlier. So if we go there, this is why I called it the docking seat, because we have the docking mode guy. And it is a very convenient seat if you do have a radial docking port. I do like that window. It would be quite convenient for doing a docking maneuver from the interior. And then after him, the rest of the Kerbals just sort of have standard seats. It looks like maybe this thing isn't entirely finished yet, as there aren't a whole lot of different textures on the inside. But overall, holds 7 Kerbals quite nicely. And finally, we have that itinerant container with the 2 Kerbals, and we've got some lovely tanks, some wire and food, etc. It looks like another hole out into the ether. That's not good, and it's by the snacks. Oh no! Alright, and we have the other one over here, and it looks like that's probably where the reactor is, with the batteries all right there. And again, just 2 people for inside of it, but it will produce some electricity, so very fun to have. I was really hoping all those legs would be enough, but it's just so oddly top-heavy that it wasn't gonna work. I had hoped, though. Alright, so the final thing we're going to look at is I did build a really quick spacecraft with this, with the orbital maneuvering engines, or at least one of the orbital maneuvering engines. They all have pretty similar looking, this one, okay. They all have pretty similar looking particle effects, etc. Very cool engines for them being, again, monopropellant powered, but overall pretty cool. So just a quick little ship here, nothing too special, frankly. We've got the beautiful heavy command pod. I just really love the look of this thing. And then also we've got ourselves one of these service containers here, where I have stored inside a crap load of different batteries so that we have more than enough power. And, well, I just put some random solar panels on there to power it up. But imagine if we also had all the other near-future tech mods installed. We could have crazy solar panels or nuclear reactors going, whatever we so desired, and it would be impressive. And that's why I really do love these near-future technology mods. Each of them individually adds in great, awesome parts into this game. But they work the best, frankly, when all put together, because, well, I mean, it's just what they're made for. They are meant to go together and build awesome, cool ships. So definitely go check out this one, link in the description as always, and go back to the other videos, take a look at their description, go to the links, download all of the near future technology mods. They are all wonderful, and again, with them you should be able to build some pretty impressively cool stuff. But that is really it for this episode today, and of course our mini-series on near future technologies now that we have finally reached near future spacecraft. But I hope you all have enjoyed this little series, and that you do, of course, come back for our next episode when we'll be looking at hopefully a fun new mod. And of course, if you would like to help support the channel, you can take a look at the Patreon links in the description and on the end slate of the video, or join us in our Discord chat so you can come and join the community and speak to others who watch these videos, or of course myself. That is going to be it for today, folks. I hope you have enjoyed and you do come back for the next. But until that time, thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.